KCAA Radio, Loma Linda, where no listener is ever left behind.
All right. Hello, world, family, and friends, and welcome to the E Factor Radio Show. I'm your host, Cornelius Bryant, and today's special guest is Hazel Lambert, founder and CEO of ANT. Hazel, how you doing?
I'm good, Cornelius. How
Good.
are you?
Thank you. Welcome to the show. I'm glad to have you.
Thank you for having me.
You know what? You do so many things. I was reading your bio, and so what I decided to do, I'm going to let you introduce yourself and just tell us all the things that you're involved in, and then we'll just roll from there, okay?
Okay. Well, I'm the CEO of ANT Consulting, which means Advocate for Nurturing Transition Solutions. Personally, right now, I'm serving as a consultant with Riverside University Health System as their cultural community liaison. And my job now is to work with the community to bring awareness to behavioral health issues, especially with the new Proposition 1 that just passed earlier this year. So my goal is to get out there and give people information about the new proposition that's out in the community.
Okay, because we know that a lot of times we vote on stuff, but we just see it and we just, 1, 2, 3, or 4, we just mark it.
Correct.
We're not really researching what it really means and how it affects everyone. We just mark it down, and we don't realize that even though that's a process to get it on the ballot, let alone, once it's voted for and if it wins, pursuing it and making sure it gets activated and activated correctly so we can get the use out of it or what the intent was. Is that correct?
Exactly. Most times, as you said, people vote on things that don't understand what it is. So hopefully today, after our conversation, I'll be able to share some information and some insight on the Mental Health Services Act, Proposition 1.
Okay, good. But I noticed your company, Nurturing Transition?
Advocating for nurturing transitions, correct.
Wow, that's a lot. So what does that exactly entail? Because usually when you think of nurturing, you almost think of like when someone's a child or something, they're being nurtured by their mother, and then we see the word transition. That means going from one thing to another thing. And advocate, that means that you're actively doing something for a specific cause. So how do you tie all those three together?
Well, basically, as an advocate, I'm pretty much serving as a voice for pretty much the voiceless, so to speak.
Okay.
And nurturing, because oftentimes, as people say, I want to make sure that people are getting the proper services that they need. That's where that nurturing part coming in, kind of doing that hand-holding, so to speak.
Right.
As opposed to, okay, just go over here, giving out numbers, making sure that I align them with the right folks, or even walking them through the process and just making sure that they transition, kind of smoothly. So that's what that's pretty much about. And it ties into what the work that I'm doing with Riverside Behavioral Health. And under Riverside Behavioral Health, I also chair, which is part of the Behavioral Health, which is the African American Family Wellness Advisory Group, also known as AFWAG.
Right, okay. Because let's go back to just for a brief
Okay.
minute to the nurturing part. Because a lot of times people say, well, the people you deal with, are mostly grown. Is that not correct?
We deal with everybody.
Right,
But
right.
as you said, most of the time they are young adults and older folks that we deal with. Yes.
Right, but they still need nurturing.
Most definitely. All of us do.
Yeah, we do, and I think a lot of times that stops us from really getting the best use out of certain programs that's available to us. Because like you say, nurturing, that means you have to go up under somebody's care, basically. And a lot of times we don't want to do that. We're like our attitudes, oh, I'm grown, I don't need anybody to do this or do that for me. But at the same time, we do, but a lot of times it's pride that stops us from really getting full use of all the benefits that are available to us. We just say, well, I'm not going to go to Hazel and ask her this because then I'll look like I don't know what I'm doing, or I'll look stupid, or whatever the case may be. But that's what you're there for.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
We all could use a helping hand, or we can all use some inspiration.
Right.
I'm not there to take away anybody's independence, but to help them along the way in any way I can.
Right, and that's good. And I always tell people, no matter what level you are in life, there's always some help that you can use. You can always use some help for something, because you're not advanced or you're not proficient in all these different areas. So when that person's there to help you, take advantage of it and just, use it for your good because they're there to help you, not to hurt you. And a lot of times we get that mixed up, especially depends on, how your upbringing or your educational background. You may think, well, I'm just too smart. I can't go to get help because then, I have this reputation because I'm a doctor or whatever the case is. And so that's part of the thing that we have to get past.
Yeah, and part of the nurturing is, again, sometimes people just don't know what services are available.
Right.
So that's a big part that I play, especially serving in the role as a cultural community liaison. I'm trying to build those bridges. I'm trying to give out information to provide services or information on things that you may not be aware of that's out there that exists.
Right. And, people always ask me, well, how did you start this business? So how did you come to the conclusion or that you started your business, with the Advocate and all that stuff? How did you just wake up one day and goes, oh, I want to help people, so I'll start this business? How did that come about?
That's a good question. I grew up in a household and in a community, especially an African-American community, where there was always that community, so
Right.
to speak. We were always supporting each other, looking out for each other, and it was something that, again, that I kind of grew up in, my family, my community, where we always looked out for each other. So just throughout life, I've just been that kind of person, always involved in different events, always volunteering, always serving in leadership roles, and just accumulated enough information and a lot of connections, and just been fortunate enough to be able to share that information and help those out who I can.
Right. And the thing I've noticed, like you said, about growing up in the community, your household, a lot of times these things are instilled in you as a youth. And you grow up
Exactly.
with a heart for other people.
Correct.
And that's a part, education-wise and connection-wise is, but I think it all starts in your heart, because of whatever it is that you're doing, if your heart's not in it, you're not going to do well at it. And that reflects when you talk to other people. You go up there to talk to somebody to help them, and if your heart's not in the right place, they'll look at you and they're like, no, I don't want to talk to you. So that's a big part of it.
Most definitely.
And so that's important, because they say community and family. I think in a way we've sort of gotten away from that in a big way, because usually, like they say, when I was a kid, for as community goes, if your neighbor saw you doing something, you're like, oh man, I'm in trouble, because you knew your neighbors were going to go to your parents and tell your parents, and then the punishment or whatever will be issued.
Most definitely.
But now the neighbors see you doing something, they go tell the parents, and the parents want to beat up the neighbor or whoever else too, right?
We do see that.
Yeah. And
Hopefully we
so-
can get back to more community.
Yes, I hope so too. So when you say the AFWAG, can you give us a little more explanation about what that actually means?
Okay, so under the Riverside University Health System, a while back under Proposition 1, which was passed, I believe, in 2004, I believe, if I understand it correctly, I've been doing this maybe the last 4 years, but I believe this program has been around much longer than that. Some community members got together and was saying, who's going to be the voice for the African American community? So under the Mental Health Services Act, they decided to bring in cultural community liaisons. There are 9 of us. I'm just one. I represent the African American community. I want to make sure I get it right. We have the Asian Pacific Islander, we have the Native American, we have the faith-based, we have the LGTB community, Latinx. I want to make sure I get them all. I said myself,
Okay.
the disabled, the deaf and hard of hearing, and the Middle Easterners. So it's 9 of us. And the one that I represent is the African American, which is known as the African American Family Wellness Advisory Group, AKA AFWAG.
Okay. And can you give us more insight of what that entails?
So basically, AFWAG is a group of community stakeholders, community-based organizations, individuals such as yourself, practitioners. We all kind of come together once a month. We meet the third Wednesday of the month right now via Zoom, and we talk about those things as far as behavioral health that are happening in the African American community, and come together and talk about what's working, what's not working. Because as a liaison, I work with the community, these different organizations and stakeholders, and I also work with Riverside Behavioral Health. So I'm hearing from the community, and I'm taking the information back to Riverside Behavioral Health, or I'm hearing from Riverside Behavioral Health and sharing that information with the community, so that, again, there's that collaboration and partnership to say what's best for the African American community when it comes to, how do we reduce the stigma of mental health? How do we eliminate those barriers that are there? What am I hearing from the community and taking back to Riverside University Health System and saying this isn't working or this is working, and how do we come together to make it work for the best interest of the African American community, which is where that advocacy comes in again.
Oh, okay. So you go to the community, or someone goes to the community, they get this information, then they come back and they give this information to you and your people. And then you take it to the people at the Riverside Mental Health Division?
So basically, us as different stakeholders, because
Right.
it's just not me. It's, of course, I'm part of the voice, but I'm bringing in these different entities, right? Because it's about collaborations, and I'm bringing them to the table so that we can have a conversation with individuals with Riverside University Health System, and we're having a dialogue as far as what's working, what's not working, what needs to be funded,
Right.
What more funding that needs to take place, and then they're looking at, possibly how do we change some policies, how do we change some practices, how do we bring in some new programs. So it's all of those things, that encompasses how do we support the African American community to reduce those disparities, to help eliminate those stigmas, and how do we support our youth, our families, how do we support the African American community?
Right. So in order to get this information, my squeaky chair, you have to go to talk to the people in person.
Oh, yes.
Right. So all these people, you have to talk to all these people in person in order to get this information. I tell you what, here's a question for you. You can take a minute to think about it, and we'll pick up on the other side of the break. But when you're talking to all these different people, that means in order to know what the community needs, you have to talk to everybody in the community. That means the highs and the lows. So if people are going out, for example, where we are right now, up the street, there's a big homeless encampment, not homeless, unhoused encampment. So you have to have people go out and talk to these people about their needs to get an assessment of what their needs are, or what they think their needs are, in order to come back and bring it here to the board or whoever makes all the changes. And we talked about Proposition 1, and so while you think about that, like what kind of people that you get to go out there, and who goes out there to do it, and what kind of encounters they have, because we know when we're talking about mental health, usually we're scared of those people. And so, you have to talk to them in order to find out what they need. So on the other side of this commercial, we're going to come back and we're going to pick that up. Okay? So this is the Effective Radio Show. Your host, Cornelius Bryant, and special guest, Hazel Lambert, will be back in some minutes and some seconds too. All right. Yeah.
KCAA Radio has openings for 1-hour talk shows. If you want to host a radio show, now is the time. Make KCAA your flagship station. Our rates are affordable and our services are second to none. We broadcast to a population of 5 million people. Plus, we stream and podcast on all major online audio and video systems. If you've been thinking about broadcasting a weekly radio program on Real Radio plus the internet, contact our CEO at 281-599-9800. 281-599-9800. You can Skype your show from your home to our Redlands, California studio, where our live producers and engineers are ready to work with you personally. A radio program on KCAA is the perfect work from home avocation in these stressful times. Just type kcaaradio.com into your browser to learn more about hosting a show on the best station in the nation, or call our CEO for details, 281-599-9800.
And now, the voices of KCAA with an exciting announcement.
Want to hear NBC News or KCAA anywhere you go? Well, now there's an app for that.
KCAA is celebrating 25 years and our silver anniversary with a brand new app.
The new KCAA app is now available on your smart device, cell phone, in your car, or any place.
Just search KCAA on Google Play or in the Apple Store.
One touch and you can listen on your car radio, Bluetooth device, Android Auto, or Apple CarPlay.
Catch the KCAA buzz in your earbuds or on the streets, celebrating 25 years of talk, news, and excellence with our new KCAA app.
Just do it and download it.
KCAA, celebrating 25 years.
All of that.
Okay, here we go. Oh no. My earplugs. All right. We're back. I had took off my earphones because I was talking, and I couldn't figure out how do I get them back on really quick. But we don't have to be in a hurry. Okay, Hazel, thank you. Before we went to break, we were talking about.
Back?
We're back. See, look, hey. And so, anyways, we were talking. Can you hear?
Okay, I can now.
Okay. We were talking before we went to break about how do you get out to these different people to get all this information. And then we were talking about also is because you have to talk to homeless people too. And like a lot of times we know that homeless people have certain issues. And so it's really scary to go out there. I know you see women, like people come knock on the door. Oh, we're here from the Census Bureau area to get information. People slam the door in their face. And so this is just even a little bit more scary, if that's a real word, because you're out here talking to the, I said homeless earlier, but then I said, well, they don't call them, they call them unhoused. Mm-hmm. But what I think is when we say certain words, it takes away just really what's going on or the real seriousness of the situation. Because unhoused, it can mean, oh, well, I live in a boat or I live in a condo, I don't live in a house. But when you say homeless people, that lets you know that more than likely they're in the streets. So we're going out there to talk to these people, get an assessment of what they need. So first of all, give us a little idea how does that work and who does that?
Okay. Basically, I usually work with those community-based organizations that work with those different populations. Also, Riverside County has their programs where they work with the homeless/unhoused individuals. You have what they call the HOPE program, which is a program that goes out and work with individuals to try to give them the services that they need to become housed, right? There's multiple layers to an individual being, and like I said, we're going back and forth with homeless versus unhoused, because you have some, if we want to look at it in those different terms, who are homeless, we can see it right here on the street, right outside this door. And then you have some who are unhoused, where maybe they're living in their car, as you said, or living couch to couch, as they say. So a lot of the community-based organizations that I work with, you have right now an agency that I'm working with is, I want to make sure I get it right, Riverside Promise, Family Promise. I'm sorry, I can't think of the name. I'm doing them a disservice by not remembering the name. But they work with a lot of the homeless population to help them get back on their feet, because most of them are living in shelters, you know, but they go to a job every day. So those are the different organizations that I work with to find out what's going on, because there's multiple things going on sometimes when a person is unhoused. There could be substance abuse that's going on. There could be, you know, unemployment that's going on. There's some type of trauma that may be taking place. So when you're working with individuals, it's trying to find out what is the root cause. How do we address the root cause, you know, of what's going on or why you're homeless. And then one of the things that I don't think a lot of people are talking about as far as why folks are unhoused or homeless is because of the housing costs.
Right.
You know, that's a big issue that I think most of the time we're sweeping under the rug. We want to address the substance abuse. We want to address the trauma. We want to address the unemployment. But are we looking at the big picture? You know, here in California, most people can't afford, you know, the rent. So are we talking about rent control? I'm sure there's some conversations that are going on about rent control. But again, when I say I'm talking to the community as the liaison, these are the types of things that I'm hearing, that I'm taking back saying, this is what I'm hearing from the community. So how do we address those things? Yes, we're looking at, again, we're looking at, how do we get them back to work? How do we address their trauma? How do we address their substance abuse? But how do we address the rent control as well?
Right. And I think one of the most important, everything you said was important, but the thing I really picked up on is that you said a lot of these people, they have jobs. They get up and they go to work every day, but because of their housing situation, like say, or the rent control, then they're still basically living out in the streets. But a lot of times you pass by and you say, oh, why don't they get a job? Why don't they do this? Why don't they do that? But these people have jobs. But because of the price of everything, it just outpriced them.
Yes.
But yet they're getting up, going to work, they're doing these different things that we're doing. And so then, you're taking, well, why don't they get a better job? All these things add up to the thing. We keep, every time we're doing one thing, what we're doing, we're throwing something back on them that basically they may not have control over. Because if you're getting up and you're going to work every day, despite your situation, you're still showing up for work.
Yes.
You're still going to work. But if the pricing is too high, then that's what, like I said, with rent control. And not only that, every time they tear down one place, when they build a new place, or people move out and they remodel that place, now the rent's more than likely going to go up almost twice the amount it was. And that's what I've talked to people too. They say, yeah, I used to stay at this particular place, but then something happened. Our new owners took over whatever it is. A corporation took over as opposed to a private family who owned these buildings. And now they remodel them, and now the rent goes up twice the amount it is. And they give you an option. Okay, well, you can stay here. And if you can't afford to stay here, you have X amount of days to go.
Right.
And so if they can't stay there and they don't have the money to go somewhere else, where else, what do they do?
Yeah. That's where your couch surfing comes
Right.
in. And then, again, you have these organizations out here that are doing the best that they can, but the number continues to grow. But one of the things we've talked about, Proposition 1 passing, which is now considered the Behavioral Health Services Act, and the whole premises behind the Behavioral Health Services Act, that Proposition 1, the main focus is on housing and the substance abuse. Mental health had 5 different components, and behavioral health has 3 components, and those 3, one of those components does focus more so on housing, especially with our veterans and the substance abuse, because as you know, we see a lot of substance abuse that's going on out there.
Right. Even when you're doing these programs and housing, all this goes, once they get off the streets or they get in these programs, I'll ask you, is there some kind of follow-up program like job training or teaching these people basically how to get back into life and function in life?
Part of, under the Behavioral Health Services Act, is what they call a full service partnership, and it works with them in all those different areas. It looks at the substance abuse problem. It looks at the housing problem. It looks at the employment problem as far as the trainings and different things like that. So it looks at everything as a whole. So it's not so much as, okay, we're going to get you off the street and pay your rent and then you on your own, because we know what's going to happen.
Right.
It's going to be, if you don't build a foundation, then we're back to square one. So under the Behavioral Health Services Act, this looks at a person as a whole, right? But I think what we need is, I'm just one person. We have a few community-based organizations who are, fighting to get funded, and we're seeing now that a lot of the funds are being cut, so to speak. We need the public, we need the community to have a voice and to be a part of advocating for themselves, because it's about self-advocacy too.
Right.
So we need more community members to be involved and come by and have a seat at the table, and when we have these public hearings, to come out and talk about it and to advocate for not only themselves but for their families and for their community members and their neighbors. So it's important that the community gets involved.
It is important, because I know a lot of times I found that I go to some of these meetings, they have people there and everybody's thinking, well, we got to stop depending on these people. We got to do it for ourselves. We got to do it for ourselves. We got to pull ourselves up, and we got to do our own stuff in our community, and it stops there. I mean,
Correct.
once you get off the mic where you have everybody looking at you and, then you walk out and nothing changes. So like I said, the community does have to get involved. We have to reach out to other people. But something I was saying earlier, that we're basically, as a community, we're scared to go across certain lines or certain boundaries that we have to help people. Because people say, oh, even like sometimes you see how people asking for money. Oh, I need food. They goes, I'm not going to give them money for food because all they're going to do is go get drugs and alcohol. I mean, that may be true, but sometimes it's not up to you what they do with it. I mean, I know it's your hard-earned money, but sometimes these people do. They actually go get food. I know just last week when I was leaving church, this guy, he came up, he goes, hey, the church is closed. I said, yeah, the church is closed. He said, oh, because I needed some food. I needed something to eat. I'm hungry. And I goes, you really want food? He goes, no, man, I want food. I mean, if you buy me, you can go pay for it and I'll eat it there. I mean, you don't have to give me the money. So across the street from right across, and that's the street, the parking lot from our church is a Golden Corral.
Right.
So I goes, well, if you want food, I'll take you over to Golden Corral and pay for it. He goes, yeah, I want food. He goes, yeah. So he went over there and he got the food. And so sometimes the people really do want food.
Correct.
Not everybody wants drugs or alcohol. Maybe not that particular time. They may really need
Correct.
food. They still need food to live. But sometimes we just got to go out of our way, our comfort zone, and take a chance. Okay, well, if you want food or water, I can still help you.
Right.
Because a lot of times they help you give them. That makes a big difference.
Yes.
That has a human, you reach out to them and say, okay, even though I don't know you or whatever it is, I care enough that I don't want you to go hungry.
Right.
And so they goes, wow, nobody never did that for me. That little thing can be a big change in that person's life.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
And so that's true. The community does have to step in and help.
Yes.
Because even if the funding's there, how long does it take the funding to get from the funder down to the people who actually need it?
Oh my goodness. It can take some time because I'm not sure if you're familiar with how grants work. Sometimes, especially for a community-based organization, a grant could take a while. I know one of the things that I do as a cultural community liaison, I work again with community-based organizations. We have an opportunity to help with some sponsorship. I think that's the word that I want to use. Sponsorship, and it helps to, again, bring awareness. It helps, whatever project that they're working on, we can support it, in some kind of way.
Right.
But as far as grants go, and when it comes to them working with the county and wanting to get what we call a contract, they have to go through the whole proposal process, which is the request for proposal. And I think you and I have had a conversation about
Right.
that. So it can take some time. And one of the things that we do with AFWAG is, again, we try to work with those community-based organizations, those faith-based organizations, those grassroots organizations to say, look, if this is something you want to do, we want to embrace you, and we'll put together, workshops to show you how to apply for a grant, to make sure that you dot your I and cross your T. And again, I think part of the problem that I'm seeing in the African-American community is we're laying the foundation, we're making these things available, and people just not showing up to take advantage of it.
Right, 'cause I know one part of the reason is because when you do something, in order for you to get paid, it takes so long. So you may do something today or tomorrow, and you're spending some of your own funds in order to make
Correct.
this happen. But it could be 30, 60, 90, even longer before you get your money back. Unless you have a good financial backing, it's hard to keep doing it because you're having to pay out, and you have to wait so long for the money to come back in. And so a lot of times, if you don't have those funds available yourself, it's hard for you to do it, especially have people working for you, because they're like, I don't care if you don't get paid till next year or year after that. I need my money now. So you have to have the funding in order to make this happen. So I think if there's a process where we can do this faster for the grants for people to get their money, that we'll probably have more people willing to do it. And so what we're going to do, we're going to take another quick break, and we're going to pick up the funding part after we come back.
Yes, let's pick up the funding when we get
All
back.
right. Again, E-Factor Radio, your host Cornelius with special guest Hazel. We'll be back.
KCAA Radio has openings for 1-hour talk shows. If you want to host a radio show, now is the time. Make KCAA your flagship station. Our rates are affordable and our services are second to none. We broadcast to a population of 5 million people. Plus, we stream and podcast on all major online audio and video systems. If you've been thinking about broadcasting a weekly radio program on Real Radio plus the internet, contact our CEO at 281-599-9800. 281-599-9800. You can Skype your show from your home to our Redlands, California studio where our live producers and engineers are ready to work with you personally. A radio program on KCAA is the perfect work from home avocation in these stressful times. Just type kcaaradio.com into your browser to learn more about hosting a show on the best station in the nation, or call our CEO for details, 281-599-9800.
And now, the voices of KCAA with an exciting announcement.
Want to hear NBC News or KCAA anywhere you go? Well, now there's an app for that.
KCAA is celebrating 25 years and our silver anniversary with a brand new app.
The new KCAA app is now available on your smart device, cell phone, in your car, or any place.
Just search KCAA on Google Play or in the Apple Store.
One touch and you can listen on your car radio, Bluetooth device, Android Auto, or Apple CarPlay.
Catch the KCAA buzz in your earbuds or on the streets, celebrating 25 years of talk, news, and excellence with our new KCAA app.
Just do it and download it.
KCAA, celebrating 25 years.
All right. Welcome back to the E Factor Radio Show. I'm your host, Cornelius Bryant, special guest, Hazel Lambert. And before we went to break, Hazel, we were talking about the grants and the funding and all that. So I'm just going to let you speak about that for us. How do they receive their money from these grants?
Okay, and I know before the break we were talking about how when individuals or community-based organization apply for grants, they have to wait sometimes, or like you said, the grassroots organization, most of the time they're spending money out of their own pockets. The thing that I push the most, I would have to say is a pet peeve for me as a cultural community liaison, and my conversations with the different organizations, is I think the biggest problem that I'm seeing in the African American community is we're working in silos. I think we will have a better opportunity when we start pulling our resources together.
Right.
I think we all grew up in a community, as we said, the community that you grew up in and the community that I grew up in, we knew how to make $1 out of 15 cents. Mm-hmm. So if you take your 15 cents and you take your 15 cents and so on, we can make $1. Until those grants come through, we can do more, in my opinion, based on my conversations and based on my experience working in the community, if we begin to start pulling our resources together. Because I've worked with so many organizations and I've seen so many organizations, all of us are kind of doing the same thing. All of us are really trying to serve the same community. So I may be an expert maybe in administration, I may be an expert in this area or that area. Why is it that we can't pull our resources together to make this happen? And another problem that I'm seeing is oftentimes when these organizations do apply for a grant, they only depend on that one grant, as opposed to, you have a grant here, having grants there, and again, constantly looking for resources to bring in. And I want to really give a shout out to the organization Starting Over. Starting Over works with a lot of individuals coming out of the justice system, and they stay on top of, they don't just depend on one grant. They're constantly looking for grants, they're constantly looking for partnerships, and that's why they're so successful in the work that they do, because they're constantly doing what I suggest that other organizations do: partnership. Don't just depend on one source of income, always looking for those opportunities to enhance what you're doing.
Right.
I may have a program where I'm just focusing on maybe children, but I may be able to get a grant that allow me to work with seniors. I may be able to get a grant where to bring in food. So again, diversifying, your grants, diversifying those funds, and again, stop just working in those silos and bring in different partners.
You're absolutely right. That's important, because if you get this grant, sometimes they come as a package.
Correct.
A lot of people don't understand, they come as a package. So in this package grant, it may be something like you say for kids, for seniors, for this, and then you reach out, or the people who you know who deals in that area, say, hey, you know, we have this grant, but these funds are just sit here and go unused. But if you deal with seniors, you come in with us. But a lot of time the problem is everybody wants to do their own thing. Not only
Correct.
they want to do, I want to have my own fame, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know, I want to have my own fame. I don't want to work under you. I want to have my own fame and do what I want to do my way, as opposed to we all get together. Okay, it's almost like Coca-Cola. They have different divisions, but they're all Coca-Cola.
Correct.
And so that's what we like to say, diversify. So you can have Coca-Cola, but you can have your Orange Crush or your whatever it is that you're doing, but you get together to make one thing happen. Then not only is better for the community because you have different things flowing, but the money keeps flowing, so you don't run out of it. And that's a thing, even like with me, with what I do, I can't get a grant for what I do because and oversee it. But if you have these grants like the organization you're talking about, you take all these things because like you said, we want to take the people from the streets to the job to their own independence. There's a lot of steps involved in that. There's a lot of training involved. There's a lot of time involved in getting them there. But at the same time, you can go to Coca-Cola and you can have your own little bit of it, you know. But we don't need to all be Coca-Cola because we can't all be Coca-Cola.
Correct.
And so that's a good way to do it. But, you know, we're just going to take some time because we're going to be on another break in about 10 minutes. But I'm just going to give you the rest of this show so you can go through all your resources and you can take your time and go through all your papers to give people resources and names and stuff. So, Hazel, take it away.
Well, I just really wanted to address and let people know that, as we said, in 2004, Proposition 1 passed, which was the Mental Health Services Act. And basically what happened under the Mental Health Services Act, it said that they were taxed 1% on anybody making over $1 million to go into the Mental Health Services Act fund to make sure that we had programs for behavioral health. But this year, this is 2025, last year, 2024, let me go back. It was Proposition 63 that passed in 2004. Proposition 1 passed last year, which changed it from Mental Health Services Act to the Behavioral Health Services Act. And so basically what happens under the Behavioral Health Services Act is because we have, they saw that we had over 181,000, as we say, unhoused homeless people. The governor I believe the governor and the people of the state of California put together this policy, so to speak. So now we have Proposition 1, the Behavioral Health Services Act, and the focus is more so on the substance abuse and the unhoused. So I'm letting folks know right now the Mental Health Services Act is still in effect until next year, July 2026. But they're looking to do public hearings and public postings. So for those, as I said, we need to come together to find out what's going on, to have a say in how they put this plan together. Because now that the County of Riverside has to abide by this new proposition, they need to hear from the community. What is it that programs that you all think we need? So they're asking the public to have a say in the plan, the stakeholders to have a say in the plan. So there's going to be some public postings and hearings throughout Riverside County out of the three regions. So starting April 2025, there's going to be a 30-day website posting where you can go to ruhhealth.org under behavioral health, and you can look at the posting to get an idea of, you know, the written report that the county has put together. And in May 2025, there's going to be some public hearings, and that's when we want to hear from the community as far as, you know, what do you think about this plan, or what would you like to see in this plan? And it's going to be throughout the regions, as I say. May 1st is going to be out in the desert area. May 8th is going to be mid-county. May 15th is going to be in the western area. And they want to make sure that people are involved. So there's going to be some virtual videos that they can watch online 24/7. There's going to be surveys out there so individuals can, you know, if they can't come to the public hearing, if they can't watch them on the videos, there's going to be surveys out there so that you can, again, be able to put your information out there, put your ideas out there, you know, your suggestions, your opinion, because again, you or your family member may be going through something and you may think, okay, I think they should have this, so your opinion should be out there. But I'm definitely suggesting that individuals go to ruhhealth.org and find out what's going on and be a part of, you know, what's happening in the community, because it's important to have a seat at the table as far as behavioral health and how these funds are to be spent.
Right, because a lot of times we miss our opportunities to do or say something, but then when the time has passed, then we complain about it.
Correct.
You know, so now we complain, oh, somebody ought to do something, somebody ought to do this. But your opportunity to do something is now to be a participant with no contact. I mean, but you don't have to go out there to the streets and talk to the people. This is what you need to do. You need to reach out to all the resources that you gave and all the things that are there and say, this is what we need. This is what we need, because from the time you determine what's needed and the time you really get down to doing what is needed, there's going to be a period of months in between that. And so we do. I mean, matter of fact, I think what we should do, we should get all those things done. Then that way have you come back before this time lapses. And then that way we can have all the exact, we can put it on the screen as we talk about it. Put it on the screen as we talk about it, because a lot of times, you know, when you say stuff, then people are hearing, oh, that's a good idea. And then as soon as it comes on this side, it's gone.
Great.
But something that we can put in their face, and that way we can be able to get out to actual places and do stuff and to bring attention to it. It's almost like a campaign that we'll have to do a campaign. I say we, because that means, like I say, community. We're talking about the whole community and the people involved in it, because there's a lot of people who's not going to get the message, they're not going to get the word, and they'll be like, oh, well, my cousin Joe, he could have used that program.
Right.
Because a lot of times we like they change the word to behavioral from mental.
Correct.
You see, so it makes it a little nicer, because no one wants to be known as having a mental problem. You know, they go, oh, nothing wrong with me. You think, you know, but there is. But just the fact that you said it in such a way that you present it is different as if you say, oh, behavioral. And then you say, oh, this or that. It goes, oh, you know what? I do fall into that category. So it'll make them more up to want to reach out and get help when the help becomes available. But if we don't say anything or we don't do nothing, it's just going to slide by.
Correct. Yeah. And you said something, when we do hear the term mental, that's where that stigma comes in. Because when people hear mental, they think I'm crazy. And it's not that. All of us deal with some forms of anxiety or depression, you know. And so we're just saying, you know, be able to seek those services that help you, you know, get to the level that you need to be. But we do have some individuals that may need medication, that may need to support groups, because there's a lot of trauma, you know, there's a lot of unresolved, as we say, childhood issues that I think a lot of individuals may not realize what's going on, because some things are deeply rooted and we're not understanding, you know, why our behavior is such.
Right.
You know, so it's important that, you know, we, you know, seek to find. So
Right. Seek to find, because like you say, behavior is such from childhood trauma. But a lot of times when we think about childhood trauma, we think like certain abusive situations or things like that, things that's really bad. But as a grown man who talked to other grown men, their childhood trauma is that their father wasn't there or their father had another family.
Exactly.
So you're trying to figure out, okay, so I'm your real son, but you got Joe over here, he's your wife's son, and you do more for him than me, and I never see him, and I never see you, but you're always with him on Facebook, especially now that social media's out, you're always on Facebook holding him up and doing all these things for him. And so that's a form of trauma.
Yes.
Even though it's not a violent trauma.
Correct.
And that affects people, because I was like, wow. And I remember thinking to myself, because I wasn't raised in that situation, I remember thinking to myself, you're 40-something years old, and you know, you're still hung up on that. But we take other people's mishaps or things for granted of the seriousness of it. But that's a serious thing. You know, now I'm 20 years older, I'm thinking now I can understand it.
Yeah.
But at the time you're thinking, so what? You know?
Yeah. And as you said, there are some generational things that, you know, this is Black History Month. There are some generational trauma that we as African Americans have been passed down from generation to generation and may not understand, why do I do what I do? Not
Right.
realizing it could be, you know, something generational that, you know, we've never dealt with.
Right, and it's funny that you say about Black History Month, because just on the way here, I was talking with Debbie, and we were talking about that. I said, what I want to do on this show, on the next one, I want to get somebody like in our age group to talk about Black history and their views, as opposed to like, what do they call them, the new generation, or Generation Zinc, who have no clue about it. They're totally detached from all those things. Just have a conversation with all of us on the views when it comes to certain things, because their view is totally different than our view. So what
Most
they're looking at,
definitely.
you know, a lot of times we say, oh, okay, the people tell us we should just forget it. Talk about other races, but their view is, you know, that has nothing to do with me. And they really don't understand. So we're going to have to set that up. We have to get somebody and have that conversation. But that does happen. It goes down from generation to generation.
Yes.
A lot of times we don't realize it. And people say, well, all these people with homeless or unhoused, whatever, these are all ethnic people, but this affects everybody. I mean, I don't care what your race is or your gender is, you know, this affects us all. So this is helping us all. This is something we all need to come together on. We can't say, well, it doesn't affect me or my family, so I'm not going to worry about it. Because sooner or later, it's going to hit your family. Somebody in your family is going to hit, or it may even hit you, and you don't even know it's hitting you. You know, and so this is very important issues that we need to take care of. We need to deal with. Like I said, we need to campaign for. It's like a campaign. That the more people we get involved, the better off we're going to all be.
Yes.
Because it's a human crisis.
Most definitely.
It's not a black crisis or a Mexican crisis or a white crisis. This is a human crisis.
Most definitely.
And so these programs, and this sounds if it's for LA, I mean it's for all the counties.
This proposition
I mean,
is
for Riverside,
this proposition is the state.
The state.
This is a state proposition.
Right.
Yes.
So we should take advantage of it.
Most definitely.
We have to take advantage. We have to tap into these resources and tap into these people. Like I said, we're going to have Hazel come back. That way, as we talk about all these things, we can have a slide and they can come up on the screen, or they can come up where people can actually see them to write them down. Because we're saying this number, that number, and people going, oh, that sounds good. But they're going to forget about it, because unless it's affecting them directly, it's not important enough for you to, oh, yeah, so that date was what, May to what? And that was March what? And that was for what? Oh, that's okay. Let's forget it.
And I appreciate the invitation, and I hope that with that invitation I can bring my other liaisons. You know, that way you have a representation of all of us from all the different communities, because even though we all deal with, you know, various things, it affects us differently in different communities. You know?
Right. You know what? I tell you what.
I'll talk to them.
Well, I don't know, Hazel. It's almost like when you take on a team, but the team is not really good, but you tell the owner, oh, yeah, I can make them good, but, you know, you weren't really serious about it. And the owner said, okay, well, you're hired. You go, what? I didn't really mean it. So what we're going to do, our next show is 2 weeks from today. So if you could talk to them during that period, and then...
I'll see what I can do.
Right, and then as many as you can come, we'll come back here, and then you get the flyers. Our engineer, our top-notch engineer, Joe. Hey, Joe. Say hi to Joe.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, Joe. Oh, he got somebody in there with him. Man, you ain't supposed to wave. We only said Joe. What are you waving for? Nah, we're just playing. But then that way, you know, we can get it. And as we're talking about it, maybe we can figure out a way to just slide each one there so these resources can sit there. That way people can actually see them and take advantage of them.
Okay.
How does that sound, Hazel?
Sounds like a plan. Hopefully their schedule will be as such where they can come out. But
Well,
I will definitely talk with you.
Okay, I'll tell you what. If it's not for 2 weeks from now, then let's get together and do it when they can all come out.
Okay.
Because if it's 2 or 3 of them or whatever, like you say, the more the merrier. That way, the more people involved, the more effect it's going to have. Because that means that you have your people, they have their people, I have no people, then they have their people, and they have their people. So to reach more people.
Okay.
Okay? Wow. How much time we have left? 4 minutes? Okay, since we only have 4 minutes left, Even though we say people don't remember, but do you have any numbers, phone numbers where people can reach out in case they do need some mental health or behavioral health for their family or friends?
I would definitely have people go to ruhhealth.org. That's the Riverside County website where they can get all the information. They can see all the various services that are available. You know, you have the mobile crisis unit, you have prevention and early intervention. You can find out all the services that are available there. But as far as, you know, for those in the African American community, the African American Family Wellness Advisory Group, we meet the third Wednesday of the month. Also, if you're interested in participating, we meet via Zoom from 10 to 11:30. Our next meeting is February 19th. You can email me at antconsulting@yahoo.com if you're interested, and I can send you the link, and you can come out and sit in and be a part of the conversation. Again, if you're a community-based organization, I'd definitely like to get to know you and find out what it is that you're doing and see how we can work together to bring more awareness to our different communities about your services and how we can collaborate and partner, because again, I'm real big on partnering and collaborating and aligning those community-based organizations with other community-based organizations. I'm currently working with Dr. Boucher with Riverside Community College. She has a lot of different programs that she's working on, and she's looking for different individuals, because we're seeing that especially in our African American communities, we're not seeing a lot of them taking advantage of the community college with all the programs that they have. So we want to raise that, you know. So we're definitely I want to advocate for more African Americans to be involved in, you know, community college. I know a lot of folks are so interested in the four-year colleges. They're going out to four-year colleges not realizing that they can still get some good things right here at their community college, and then decide, okay, do I want to go out to the universities? But I'm working with her. I'm working with Building Resilient Communities. You know, they have their brother-to-brother program that you and I talked about, and we're looking for more black men to be involved in these programs. So as you said, so they can, it's men talking to men, no women are in the room.
Right.
You know, so they can have those conversations. They talk about everything from mental health to spirituality to what does love mean. There's the different types of love, right? So those are some great programs that are happening. And again, the African American Family Wellness Advisory Group, we meet the third Wednesday of the month. Email me at antconsulting@yahoo.com.
All right, thank you. Well, that's it for today. We're out of time. Remember, I'm your host, Cornelius Bryant, the E Factor Radio. Oh, we have 2 minutes. You know what? In that 2 minutes, let me just say something really quick. You said about school, the college. I think it's important, like I said earlier, take advantage of the opportunities presented to you. Because a lot of times you say they don't do this, they don't do that, but yet, if you sit here and you're constantly complaining about the situation, you're complaining about your situation, and you get together in this group of complainers, that's all you do is you get together and you complain, and you're not doing anything, I'm not going to say it's your own fault, but it's your own shortcoming. You know, there's something you can do. Like I say, in this college, you can go there and you can get the basis for it for university, or you can just get a basic 2-year thing, and you'll find out what it is that you like. They have things for computers, how to operate computers, how to do all these different things. Take advantage of it. Don't be a complainer. Get out of your group that complains. If you're in a group and everybody's sitting there complaining every day, that means no one's doing anything to better themselves. So you're with the wrong group, unless you choose that life.
Correct.
So sometimes your situation is a life choice. So make better choices, make better people, and let's make better use of each other's opportunities. Yours is mine, mine is yours. Together we can come up with something that somebody else can use too. So this time our 2 minutes is up, or not, but either way it goes, no matter what, we're going to sign off. And we're going to try to get Hazel and her team back here in 2 weeks. But if not, we'll still be back. The E Factor Radio Show, your host, Cornelius, special guest, Hazel Lambert. We'll see you later. Have a good day.
Thank you, Inland Empire, for listening to KCAA Radio.
Meet Barkley. When Barkley smells gas, he leaves fast. When Barkley hears hissing coming from a gas appliance, he leaves fast. When Barkley sees dirt or water shooting from the ground, he leaves fast. Barkley then calls 911 and Southwest Gas from a safe location.
Did that dog just grab a phone and dial 911?
Gas lines can be buried anywhere, so remember to call 911 and Southwest Gas.
The Row House reminds listeners each day 22 veterans take their own lives. Together, we can win this war against veteran suicide. Let us all join the Row House to let our veterans know there is hope, there is help, and they can heal. That's courtesy of the Row